Can a plant-based diet satisfy the protein needs of people, both from a quantity and a quality standpoint? This is the question that I'm going to try to provide an answer today. I'm Dr. Gili. I'm a practicing internal medicine physician. I also hold a master's degree in human nutrition. I remember when I was in medical school in the early 90s in communist Romania, where we had significant barriers to access to information from outside the communist Iron Curtain. I decided in the second year of medical school to become a vegetarian. And I remember the concerns my family, my friends, my professors at the university expressed. And on top of their list of concerns was exactly this issue. Will you get enough protein? And if so, will it be good quality? So I invite you to spend with me a few minutes today as we delve into finding the answer to this question, because I'm convinced there's something to be learned no matter on which side of the answer to this question you are sitting right now. So let's delve in. First of all, every protein, human or otherwise, is made of amino acids. These are the building blocks of which protein is made, similar in a way to how words or sentences or books are written with letters. We have 26 letters or so in the English alphabet, and we have 20 amino acids in nature. The average size of a human protein is about 430 amino acids, but we have proteins ranging from 50 amino acids, insulin has 51 amino acids, to over 34,000 amino acids for this specific protein in muscle tissue. For humans, 9 are essential. And by this, we mean that we need to get them from food. We cannot make them from scratch. And this is the list of those 9 essential amino acids. And I listed here both the estimated average requirement in terms of milligrams per kilogram per day, as well as the RDA, the recommended daily allowance. The important difference to remember here is the RDA is designed to go over the estimated average. The average is the midpoint for a population. The RDA is where over 99% of the needs of that population are met by these numbers. And you see it's about 25% or so more than the EAR here for each of these numbers. And again, these are milligrams per kilograms per day for the average adult. And if you do the total here for a 70 kilogram person, you get about 15 grams, 15,000 milligrams of essential amino acids. Now, as I mentioned earlier, these are just 9 of the 20 amino acids, so the actual protein needs for the day are higher, and we're talking about 0.8 grams per kilogram per day for the average adult. So again, for a 50 kilogram person, we're talking about 56 grams per day of protein needed. Now, obviously requirements vary during growth for lactating or pregnant women. The needs are higher, and they are also higher during periods of intense and prolonged physical activity, especially for people who want to develop muscle mass, bodybuilders. So the key question here is how much higher, how much more protein do these people need? And that's another question we're going to try to answer today. So stay with me. Okay, now an important issue when it comes to protein ingestion is that of the quality and bioavailability. So by quality, we mean that the protein has to have as many of those 9 essential amino acids as possible, and in an amount, in a proportion that is as close to the needs of the person that consumes it. And by bioavailability, we mean how easy it is for somebody to absorb those proteins, those amino acids. And if we do a comparison between animal and plant protein, in general, there are exceptions, but in general, animal proteins are complete. That means that they have, most of them, all the 9 essential amino acids, whereas plant proteins lack sometimes one, sometimes more essential amino acids. For example, in vegetables, you find less than adequate amounts of methionine. In corn, you have less than adequate amounts of tryptophan or lysine, and so forth. There are some notable exceptions among the plant foods, for example, soybeans, quinoa, chia seeds. They tend to be complete proteins. And there's also the important issue of complementarity, because nobody eats corn all day long if they are on a plant-based diet. If you combine corn with beans, for example, or different plant foods, what one lacks, the other one provides, And therefore, the issue of deficiency of amino acids, essential amino acids, is really a non-issue. I'm going to show that in more detail in a moment here. The bioavailability in general of animal protein is better compared to plant proteins, but the difference is minor. I've seen numbers to the tune of about 3%, so we're not talking here about huge differences. But again, animal protein, especially when it's cooked, it's absorbed easier than plant protein. On the positive side for plant proteins, they keep better company. You get healthy fats, you get fiber, you get phytochemicals with plant proteins. Whereas with animal proteins, they like bad company. They make bad friends, they come usually with a lot of saturated fat, with cholesterol, with pro-inflammatory factors, and thus you also get a good portion of these bad guys. So the key question here is, can a plant-based diet supply all the 9 essential amino acids? The challenge I set myself to try to meet here is pretty steep. What I set up to show here and to demonstrate is that I could supply both the quantity and the quality of all the 9 essential amino acids per day for a 70 kilo adult by putting together a menu made of just 1,000 or a bit less than 1,000 calories per day. Why 1,000 calories, you wonder? Well, because if 1,000 can cover all the 9 essential amino acids, then obviously if you eat more, if you eat 2,000, if you eat 2,500 calories of plant foods, obviously the problem will be even less of an issue. And also because there are people out there who use caloric deficit to lose weight. If you follow my videos, you probably know that I'm not a big fan of cutting down calories drastically, but a modest caloric deficit is reasonable. And there is this concern that people have: if I'm going to cut down calories, I'm going to be protein deficient. What do? So I wanted to show that it's possible, again, with just 1,000 calories to cover your protein needs. The menu should be all plant-based, it should be affordable, it should cover at least 95% of the recommended daily allowance for each of these 9 amino acids, okay? So let's see how we do here. I made a menu that's really simple. I only have 9 food items. I have a breakfast made of oats with soy milk with some walnuts and bananas and blueberries. For lunch, I have a tofu-based casserole or main dish and some steamed broccoli. For dinner, some cooked quinoa, and then for snacks, sunflower seeds, okay? Now, again, this is a 1,000 calorie menu. I'm not saying you should just eat this and nothing else. What I'm trying to demonstrate here is that even with this very restrictive diet, you could cover, if you plan it appropriately, your protein needs, both in terms of quantity and quality. So let's have a look at the breakdown of this menu. You can pause the video if you want. I'm going to put a link with the file, with a Google Sheet file, so you can download it and examine it if you want. But basically what you see here is each of the food items is listed here on each one of these columns. You see here the seeds, the tofu, and here's the amount. So you have half an ounce of dried sunflower seeds, you have half a cup of tofu, walnuts, and so forth. And over here on this column, you have the totals of each of these foods. And what I have here is for each of the essential amino acids, you see histidine, isoleucine, leucine, and so forth, all the way down to valine. For all 9 of these essential amino acids, I have both the amount in milligrams for that amino acid here. For example, 88 milligrams of histidine in half an ounce of sunflower seeds dried, as well as the percentage for the RDA for that 70 kilo adult that amount provides. So you see here in terms of the histidine, that person gets 9% of their daily need of histidine from those sunflower seeds. And I color-coded here in these little bar graphs. If it's red, it's below 25%, yellow is between 25 and 50%, blue is 50 to 75%, and anything above 75% of the RDA for that particular food item for that specific essential amino acids is going to be green. Like here, for example, for half a cup of tofu, you have isoleucine, you have 81% of the daily need provided just by half a cup of firm tofu. So if you spend a moment and examine this table here, several things should strike you right off the bat. First of all, there are some food items from this menu that are very rich in protein and essential amino acids, tofu being one of them. You see here how for each or most of these essential amino acids you have really generous amounts. Next though, which is something that I'm sure you may not have anticipated, you have these oats. Now this is half a cup of uncooked oats, so it's a fair amount. And then you have this soy milk here, pretty good also. And on at the other extreme, you have some food items like fruit, the blueberries over here, the bananas, where they do provide a little bit, but barely significant amounts. You're talking about single-digit percentages for each of those in terms of the RDA. However, when you add everything up for each of these essential amino acids, what do you see? You get 147% of your daily need of histidine. And here's the important part. You only get 985 calories, guys. I promise you it's going to be below 1,000 calories. It's actually 15 calories less than 1,000 calories. And look at the bar graph of all these essential amino acids. You basically have 100% or more, 147, 183, with a notable exception here of lysine, where you only get 95% of the RDA for that specific amino acid. But let's go to the next table, because this is a graphic representation of what I showed you earlier, which is a lot easier to understand. All these essential amino acids listed here, from histidine to valine on the vertical axis. This is the 100% line here. And again, with those 985 calories, you see here where you get an extra 47% of histidine, 37% extra on top of the 100% RDA of isoleucine, and so forth. So again, for most of this, you get plenty. And in some cases, like this guy here, you get another 109%, more than twice the amount of tryptophan with those 985 calories of exclusively plant foods. Again, with a notable exception of lysine here, which you only get 95% of the RDA. Now, don't panic here. Again, this is only 985 calories. If you eat a couple of hundred more calories with this type of menu, this will be a non-issue, okay? What's the conclusion of this thing? Well, first of all, you can see that it's easy, relatively speaking, with good planning, to provide for all the 9 essential amino acids with a plant-based diet easily, even if you eat a lot less than what the normal amount of energy, of calories, should be for the average 70 kilo, 155 pound adult, okay? So I hope that made the point, and if you have any questions or any concerns about what I just showed here, please let me know. I could elaborate more if you want me. The second thing that I'm going to say here, for those who are on a plant-based diet or contemplate going on one, and they think that it's, I can just eat bananas all day long or vegetables and, lose weight and be strong. Be careful, my friend. You remember how those fruit and vegetables tend to be the same. The amount of protein in those things is small. You need your legumes, your soybeans, you need your nuts and seeds and whole grains. That's where the protein is, okay? Planning and variety are key if you are on a plant-based diet. Don't think that whatever you eat, even if you eat a couple of foods all day long forever, you're going to be fine, because you can run into trouble. Again, these essential amino acids are things that your body can't make. And if you don't get enough of one or more of those, protein synthesis comes to a halt and you won't be able to make enough muscle. But more than that, you won't be able to repair structure. Your immune system won't have what it needs to make antibodies, your bones to regenerate, and everything else in the body, enzymes and hormones and things of that sort. So this is no small matter. You need to pay attention. You need to put effort and planning in that diet to make it appropriate, to make it balanced. I mentioned earlier, needs are higher when you exert yourself, when you go on bench press and lift weights and spend a lot of calories working out hours a day. What do you do then? Do you pour protein powder? You don't have to, my friend, because as you just saw here, when you work out so hard, your hunger will go up, your appetite will increase, and you will end up eating more. Elite athletes, it's not unusual for them to eat 5,000, 6,000 calories on a really intense day. And guess what? With that many calories, they'll get a lot more protein. And even with a plant-based diet, as you see here, you could easily cover with a well-planned, again, such diet, you can easily cover your essential amino acid needs. So that problem takes care of itself through mechanisms that are built in that we all have. Intakes higher than 1.4 grams per kilogram per day are not necessary, and in fact, they can be detrimental, they can be dangerous. Why? Because they activate the metabolic pathway in our body called mTORC1. And what happens is when this mTORC1 goes into overdrive, because you eat too much protein, you eat more than 1.4 grams per kilogram per day, it'll start to stimulate, among other things, plaque formation in your arteries. So you don't want to end up in middle age or sometimes sooner with a heart attack or a stroke, my friend, because you just wanted bigger muscles. So I hope what I presented here is useful and it helped you understand this dynamic of protein needs on a plant-based diet, and at the same time that I alleviated some of your concern if you're considering switching to such a diet, that is not such a huge deal to cover your needs. Again, importantly, as long as you plan a variety of protein-rich plant foods into your menu every day. One last thing here, a bonus tip. As opposed to carbohydrates and lipids, for which our body has mechanisms by which it deposits these things, and we hate that because we gain weight when that happens, but that has a purpose. We don't have a mechanism to store excess protein intake. So if you pour protein powder in your diet, guess what? At the end of the day, what your body doesn't need is going to try to break down. And that process is difficult, it's metabolically taxing, and you don't want that. You want your body to work in the most balanced, efficient way possible. I'm Dr. Gili. I appreciate you being here with me, and I'll try to upload more materials in this series soon. Until next time, you stay healthy and you stay balanced, my friend.